Welcome back to part 2 of me, who's you talking to, and to me, Jeff Ollerhead and Paul Tremarco. So, after Bill Shankly robbing Everton's balls and bringing them to your team, bringing them to your team that you were training the lad, the kids. So, where'd they go from there? Did anyone make it or what?
Well, yeah, but to be honest with you, in the last 12 months of that season, we become that successful in how people wanted to play for me. So then I had a guy from Kirby called Kevin Campbell. His uncle was a guy called Bobby Campbell, who at the time was the manager of Fulham. He used to play for Liverpool in the 60s. He was the Liverpool captain, and his nephew was Kirby Schoolboys goalkeeper. So I needed a goalkeeper. He come and joined us, and he went to me. He said, "I've got a mate of mine." He said, "He plays for us." He said, "Called Tommy Caton. Tommy would like to play for you." So I went, "I think Tommy Caton." Yeah, but never. He's just a young lad. He went, "Well," and the next minute, he's in the paper, and I went, "He's just signed for Manchester City." He says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you can't play for me and play for Manchester City. In them days, you could." So what it was, we played on a Sunday. He was playing on a Saturday.
Just wants the game.
So he'd be playing for City reserves on a Saturday, and he was playing for me on a Sunday. And he was massive. He was the best centre half. Eventually, we went on to play for City's first team. He played in the final, in the Ricky Villa final.
Was that the Ricky Villa's goal? Yeah.
Ricky Villa's goal. Tommy was there, but Tommy was a really nice kid. He just joined with everybody else. He was a really. He played his part. Played for me for 12 months. Sorry, he really enjoyed it. He went on to play for City. He never really made the potentially move to Arsenal. He moved to Arsenal.
So you do something right there on the training field with Bill Shankly and co.
Yeah, and from then, but even now, all them kids today now, they're all in their age. Because my nephew, my cousin Mark, who played for them, they are all now between 57 and 58, so they're all near enough the same age as me.
Still in touch,
and they're all in touch, and they say to me, "Paul, they were the greatest days of my life.
Yeah.
The best things, the times we had, the camaraderie as a team. We all grew together in that, and we all went our separate ways. They didn't. I decided once they all got to 16, that was the end. He started seeing girls. He started seeing going to the pub, and that was for me. That I didn't want to go any further. I was refereeing on Sunday. I used to have a guy who used to come with me all the time. Right, this is another story. A guy used to come with me all the time, Bob. And Bob would come with his little lad, and he'd stay with me. And I went, Bob. He was there the whole 5 years with me. And I said to Bob, now why don't you take the next team up? Why don't you take the next Alfred team up?
Yeah.
I said, and I'll help you set it all, but I'll be around but I want to do a bit more refereeing. I don't want to play a bit myself. This guy was mad blue. He was a mad blue. His name was Bob Pendleton. I think you might know that name because Bob's just died recently. But he's the guy that he became a scout, and he's the one who found Wayne Rooney, and it was me that introduced him into junior football.
Wow.
So that's another thing, and he was a really nice guy. And I think if I would have gone down that direction and continued in the junior football league, who would have known where it would have got to? They wanted me to become a scout. There was no money in it or anything like that, but I had to earn a living.
Yeah.
And then I went to got a part-time job in a pub.
What was the pub?
Sefton in West Derby.
Sefton, yeah.
Got a job there, and he said the only guarantee, he said to me, then in 1981, Paul, I'll give you a full-time job.
There's always working pubs.
But you'll never ever be made redundant. And I thought, every job I've had, I've been made redundant. This has got to be good. So that's how I started in the pub business.
And so in the pub business, you got your reputation. Probably the lads said, he had Bill Shankly, blah blah. You see the likes like Bob Pendleton. The respect was coming on from what you've done, refereeing as well. Yeah. You got to be obviously with being a referee. You got to have some something about you where you got to say hey, because you get loads of gobby people all the time.
I didn't find referee a problem to me because
Yeah.
once I got my uniform on, and I just, it was a job, and I just did it to the best of my ability. It didn't bother me fronting people. It didn't bother me giving red cards, or yellow cards, or whatever it was. It was a job that needed to be done. You know, it was objective. You did the rules, and people, and in them days, people respected you for it. And of course, my day was, I'd get up first thing in the morning, I'd have my team. Then I'd be refereeing in the mid-morning, and in the afternoon I'd go to Kirby Newtown. I'd be playing in the Kirby Newtown League for Melbourne with all my mates from the Daysbrew pub in Liverpool, and we played football. And that was great till I got this job, and then once I got this job, in 1981, that all finished. My football career finished, my refereeing career finished, and I just became working full-time in a pub. You know, but one thing I didn't give me season ticket up for Liverpool, and that's one thing I continued doing, going to match.
So where are you? I just for the supporters. Are you in the Cop or are you in the stands?
No, my season ticket's in the it's always been in the Kenlon Road. Well,
the Kenlon, yeah.
The old Kenlon. Yeah. Now it's called the Kelly.
Yeah.
Lower sensory stands.
Are you in the middle or?
I'm just between the halfway line and the 18-yard box. Right spec, second, right behind, right by the boxes.
Should have seen Sharp's goal going in on the top.
Actually, when Sharp's goal was in, I used to sell sweets, me and my twin brother, and all my cousins, and we used to sell sweets around the ground. We were the original Barker and Dobson's guys that used to walk around the pitch. So from early 70s, we used to go to Liverpool's game and work, and we'd go to Everton's game and work. So we knew all fans. So you had a spec in the Cop, or a spec in the Paddock, a spec in the Gladys Street, a spec in the Park End. That was where we worked. So I knew everybody. We knew everybody. And you know what? Even today,
you sell the streets outside before you go
inside the ground.
Oh, inside
so you know
the
guys who walk around. What we used to go around, we sold Wrigley's and Mars bars. You throw them in the Cop. So people be shouting them. You throw the Mars bar down. There'd be 2 bobs hitting you everywhere like that. You can get them, throwing them. So we threw them. We just throw Mars bars. We just go throw them back and into the area where the 10 pences come from or whatever. And I still get people today going and saying to me over 50 years later, "Oh, I remember you." He said, "You owe me a packet of Chewies for the Cop." And it was great. We used to walk down and we'd go in. Gary Spray could be there. We'd throw a packet of Chewies for Gary. He was playing for Leeds, right? Or any of the Toshak or anything. Then he'd come out. Or anyone who was in the dugout, packet of Chewies go with them. I'd throw a packet of Chewies into where, well, obviously wouldn't throw where Bill Shankly, not Bill Shankly, Bob Paisley was. But we threw them into where the players, where the sub was. David Fairclough used to get them all the time. Davey. And then we put what's named, then we'd go into the away support. And he said, "Oh, we haven't any." So I'd throw a packet of Chewy into the...
Did you get ripped off all the time, or did they pay it? Or
they paid us. We never ever, that was it. But it was a great job because we got on the ground for nothing. We got in the ground, we were for free. So and then what we'd do, we'd sneak into the top of the Kenlon Road, because before that, these upper centenary, we'd sit in there, we'd sit in the back, out the way. So we had great specs. So it was free. Everton games, obviously, the Everton lads, they went to the Everton matches, we worked, we finished, and then I went home. I wasn't watching it.
Favourite players then, just quickly, because obviously you've grew, I mean, you've got a lot of... So when you were a kid, who stood out, just name a few.
I think when I first started going to see them at Sir Roger Hunt, he was my favourite, and Tommy Smith, and then we got to the 70s, obviously Kevin Keegan, John Toshak, Chris Lawler, obviously Ray Clements, the goalkeeper, and then as I progressed, you then went to Kenny Dalglish, and Terry McDermott, Steve Highway, all obviously Ian Callahan, and then it just progressed. Progressed. And then if you ask me my best player, obviously, King Kenny, I loved Kenny, and obviously Stevie G. There's not much between them. Both, icons for the Liverpool Football Club. So if you ask me my 2 best players, obviously, when I was younger, Kenny Dalglish. When I was older, Steven Gerrard.
So it's amazing. So anyway, I keep on diverting, but so then your management, you're in the Sefton, right?
Yeah.
And you say, look, I'm not, I don't know with Liverpool, there's always some baddies and goodies. Do you ever get sort of trouble? It sounds nuts when you're, because a manager, because you have any, because then you didn't have any doorman, did you? Then you,
No,
you know.
we never.
So
in the Sefton, it was really, it was a very, very vibrant pub. You know, on a Sunday night, you know, it could be really, really heavy. You couldn't see a piece of carpet on the floor. All the doormen from everywhere were off on a Sunday because them days it shut at 10:30. You'd all go to Reds. The place was rocking. And we never have any doorman. So if a fight started, we just go out, try and sort it out and get out. And in them days, it wasn't as bad as it is today. You know, you could go everywhere else, the lads would just come, do us a favour, go. We had our experiences and we had some really harrowing times, you know, tear gas explosions, you know, mass brawls in the car park, you know, car fights in the car. But it was only a small part of my job. It was a part you had to be aware of, because trouble can happen in a pub at any time. But it wasn't the sort of thing that I couldn't focus on that. That was the thing you put to the back of your mind and you had to deal with it when you had to. But it was for every bad time, there was 100 great times. Meet with the people who you know, having their weddings or having their birthday parties, who were coming in for a drink, nice people. For every nice person, for every 100 nice people, there might be one bad person. So you can't afford for that to involve you in your life. Otherwise, you just go under. And that was it for me. But then when you move from the Sefton, which was a vibrant pub, to a pub in the middle of Anfield, which is just on the street corner of Anfield Road, a real tough part of Liverpool, and believe me, you know, with some really tough people in them areas. You know, I don't have to mention them, but people know who they are. But if I always found if you treated people with respect and you gave them respect, they would give you that respect back. They knew how you stood, they knew the way you worked, and always they turn around and say to you, I could walk down Breck Road, which was a tough part in the 90s, right? A rough, real tough place to go, and nobody wanted to fill me in. And I was a pub manager, but I knew loads of pub managers in the area that couldn't go nowhere for all the people barred out. And I barred people out. My job wasn't to bar people out. My job was to make sure we took money and controlled what we had with respect. And that worked for me. Always worked. But going to, as I say, to the Arkles, it had a great name for being an away pub for the away supporters. Yeah. I had to turn around and say, what am I going to make this different? So
the Arkles, just tell the audience, the Arkles is right next to the Anfield Road, or to the left, or to the Hamlin, is it where they join?
But they join. I always say
it's the closest pub, is it?
Yeah, on the Anfield Road side. I always say it's the pub with the famous address, 77 Anfield Road. And if, you know, because as soon as you speak to someone from outside the area, you mention Anfield Road, they automatically go, are you far from the ground? Is that by Liverpool's ground? Says, yeah. And that's, so for me.
What was your dream? What made you go for it? Was there an opportunity? How did you manage to catch you, if you don't mind? That
I split up with my ex-wife. We got divorced, and the settlement was, I left Mary with my ex-wife in the Sefton. She was quite happy with she had a team. She was great. She continued and she became success. She was just a success and carrying on the success. And I had an opportunity to move to the Arkles, which was right by Liverpool's ground. I'd been there before. I knew the area well. I was a mad Red fan. I knew that apart from everything else, I was looking outside my doors and there was the ground. So that was for me a USP. You know, it was a unique selling point for me, and I was there. This was going to, how was I going to make it successful, being on my own? I had to turn around and think to myself, I'd look from a different angle, and I thought to myself, this is just a street corner pub on the end of the road in Anfield. How am I going to make it? How am I going to make it different? So I set out and I thought, it's only an away pub. Yeah. So even when the papers come round and ask for
trouble in the Arkles then?
No. There was never any trouble. It could be. Don't get me wrong. It could be nasty. And the thing is, it's one of them pubs. If it goes off, it goes off. You know, it doesn't go off in a small
Bottle
place.
pop, yeah.
Yeah, it just goes off. So, and I had many of them experiences every time I stepped in, and I've had plenty of them being in the Arkles. But then again, not as much to be concerned about. I don't go downstairs thinking about that because I don't know. I want people to come in and have a great time. And as I say, being a pub manager, the greatest compliment that anyone can give you is when they leave the pub and they turn around and say, "Thanks, Paul," or "Thanks, mate. I've had a great night. I've done my job." That's all it's about.
Yeah, that's
Go into a
satisfaction,
pub and get the satisfaction of knowing that someone has had a great time in your pub, and if you've done that, you've done your job. And I worked on that, and I thought it was well known for being an away pub. How do I change that? So my profile had to change. I had to get the pub I had to get the message out there. This pub is not just an away pub. This pub is a pub for everybody, all fans. So then I started going to the, I started to get in touch with the Irish fans, get in touch on Facebook to find out where all the Liverpool supporters clubs, coach groups that come down. Why couldn't they arrive here? If there's coaches if the coaches are coming from London or from Birmingham or from wherever, Newcastle, if they're going to come to my pub, then why can't the Liverpool fans chop off and make my pub as good as theirs? So we did that. I did that, and then I thought, come up with it. This pub's famous. You know, it's not just the Arkles. What's the Arkles? Pete the Arkle or the Arkles. So it's outside. It's just associated with a horse. It had nothing to do with the horse. The Arkles was a guy called Tom Arkle, who was a local businessman. He lived across the road, and that's the reason why the pub was called the Arkles. The nickname the Arkles. Before then, its original name was the Royal Hotel. It changed to the Arkles in the 70s. Because everyone called the Arkles, but it wasn't called the Arkles till the 70s. It was called the Royal Hotel. You know.
How long's it been up? What's the build?
The pub's been built. I reckon the pub's at least 100 years old.
Is it haunted? You got a haunted story?
Well, do you know what? Yeah, I have got a haunted story.
That sounds
I'd say I don't believe in ghosts.
Yeah.
Until I see one in front of me, I'm not going to say anything. But what I will tell you, there's certain places and certain parts of the pub, and I've seen them on the video. You put your glass there like that.
Yeah.
And the glass will go like that. Fall on the floor. Fall on the table.
No wind.
No wind.
Is...
I've seen it on the camera on this.
No fishing line. No.
I've seen the glasses go like that. Slowly.
Hey,
and the tables have been level. And people have been. I'm not being funny, my mates, just my drinks just fell off the table. Same place, same corner, and it's the corner where the very first time you came in with Ava and her mum. Remember the time you walked in, you sat in that corner. You know where?
Did anyone die there? Do you know, like, have you had anyone who's died in the pub itself, like, you know, heart attacks or?
No, I had a customer who had a heart attack, and a guy.
Yeah.
Supposed to be local Scally, right? Saved him. On a Saturday night when he was dead, this guy brought him back.
You get all the ghost hunters coming.
This guy's
bring the ghost hunters in, yeah.
The guy done that is in jail now. He brought him back to life. He was, don't get me wrong, the guy's a really nice guy who done it. You know, he died. He brought him back.
That was Scally, yeah.
Yeah, and the Scally, you know, he was a really nice person. But yeah, there's certain tables where glasses go missing, and there's certain places in the pub where you know you sit in, and sometimes you get that cold chill over you. Someone's walking past you. So, but I don't know how that's to bother me. Do
you know what though? I only say that because there's always tales of people with pubs. But listen, we're going to come back in part 3. So stand by for more stories from the one and only Paul Tremarco. Take care.